residence of the Ambassador of Romania in the Kingdom of Denmark to maybe the most comprehensive event dedicated to the Romanian-Danish Dialogue, dedicated to energy transition. A special welcome to our official guests. From Denmark, Mr. State Secretary Steen Hommel, and from Romania, Mr. State Secretary George Niculescu. And we are having also online, as this event is a hybrid event, State Advisor Alexandra Bocșe from the Romanian Presidential Administration. I want to extend another special welcome to the representatives of the companies from Romania and Denmark present in the room and also present online. The context in which we are organizing this event, I think, is an unfortunate one when we're looking towards the international arena. We are having the war in Ukraine, and we are having also the unfolding energy prices crisis. But I think we all agree that occasions like this are bring also multiple opportunities. And it's an occasion where we can enhance the cooperation, taking into account also the ambitions of the EU leadership in the area of energy, in the context I was just mentioning. Each in its own region, Romania and Denmark, can play a role in this context, and we identified 3 topics for the conference of today. As you know, onshore and offshore energy, smart and interconnected grids, and district heating as core means to ensure a resilient energy transition. Myself, I'm honored to serve my country in Denmark, and I am fortunate at the same time to serve in a country that has so high ambitions when it comes to green transition. In the last 2 years, the field of energy transition became a priority for our embassy, dedicating a lot of time looking towards Denmark, trying to learn lessons, trying to bring together Romania and Denmark in this area. And also this event today is an example of our efforts, and I'm so happy that I see a full house at the residence. As I mentioned, different officials and of course also so many representatives of Danish and Romanian companies. And when I'm looking on the participant list and see all these big and important Danish companies, it's obvious that the interest towards the Romanian market is big. And it's exactly the objective of this event, bringing together and connecting companies, benefiting also from the presence of the official and of the governmental side, in order to have a constructive debate on how to use Danish expertise to accelerate the green transition in Romania, share lessons learned, best practices, and latest updates in green technology. In the end, please allow me to extend a big thanks to our partners for this event, without who we could not organize, of course, such a big event, a hybrid event. And I'm referring here to the Romanian Energy Center, thank you very much, and to the Danish Energy Industries Federation. Thank you very much for your help. I want also to extend a big thank you to Mrs. Tatiana Iosiper, who will have also an intervention. She's the special representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Energy and Climate Change. Also, a big thanks to my team in the embassy, especially to my deputy, Alina Jalea, for their commitment in preparing this event. It was an effort in the last months to prepare such an event. I hope a successful event. I hope that you will all engage in discussions in the break, and of course after the event, because it's exactly what I would like to be the most relevant, important outcome of this event. I mean, engage with each other, with the Romanian side, with the Vice Minister. We discussed also yesterday. He's here to openly discuss with you. Of course, we will have some presentations in the opening part of in the first part of the morning. But I encourage everybody to take the chance to discuss to the Vice Minister, and of course have a networking in the breaks and after the conference. I don't want to forget also to thank the representatives of the Romanian community that are supporting from the technical and administrative point of view the conference. Andrei Botez, Radu Morea, and for later in the afternoon, Andrei Mirea. Thank you very much for being here. Once again, please engage, discuss, because this is the main reason why we organized this conference. Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Alina Jalea. I was mentioning her, so she will moderate the rest of the first panel, and then the representative of the one of our partners will moderate the industry panel after the break. So please, Alina.
Thank you very much, and it is my big pleasure and honor to introduce the president of the Romanian Energy Center, Mr. Corneliu Bodea, and thank you once again for making all this possible. Please, the floor is yours.
So I'm a bit shorter. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Ambassador Gredinar, for your initiative, help, and support to organize this meeting. Of course, I have a very detailed speech prepared for this morning, but I will skip it because I feel very moved, first of all, by the number of participants. And I start when, seeing people coming in to think why, so many people from two countries which, maybe don't have too much in common, including from the energy point of view, are so interested in participating into this event. That's a wonderful happening. So it might be because we are just over 2 years of pandemic that hit the global economy in such a bad manner, and we were so shocked by what was happening. Then it might be also because starting with the end of the last year, we are facing a huge energy price crisis that will affect our economies, our countries, our population for probably some more years. And not last, maybe because we have such an unfortunate, unfair conflict at the eastern border of our European Union, which probably made us to decide to come here and meet, because there is no better reaction in such difficult times than to come together, to communicate, to bring our resources, our know-how, and to cooperate into overpassing such difficult times. So, I would like to underline only one point, which is somehow making me to be afraid. And this is that in this kind of times and in this kind of energy crisis, we might forget one of the most important target, the most important common objective of the humankind, which is fighting against the climate change. I am pretty sure that another reason for experts and specialists in our two countries came together, it's our common support and determination, both in Denmark and Romania, to fight against climate change. Because both our countries are in their region champions of investing, fight against climate change, which will be for the next probably century the most difficult task the humankind have to resolve. Thank you very much. I am honored to be here, and I am also very, very optimistic now, seeing also the number of participants, that you will have the chance to network and make connections. And this is probably the main scope of the organization that I run, Romanian Energy Center, to bring the Romanian energy industry in contact with economies, specialist industries, from where we have much to learn. Thank you very much, and I wish us successful discussions today.
So for this meeting to be possible, we needed 3 pillars. You have heard the Embassy of Romania, the Romanian Energy Center, and the third pillar, without which it would have been impossible to have the meeting, is Dansk Industri Energie. And I would like to give the floor to Mr. Troels Ranis. And thank you very much once again for your partnership. Please.
Thank you very much to you as well. Well, dear colleagues from Romania as well as in Denmark, well, I'm very pleased to take part in this meeting today. And I thank you at the Romanian Embassy here in Copenhagen, the ambassador, Alexandru Gradina, I hope I pronounce it rightly, and Deputy Alina Shalia, yes. Yeah, something like that, for taking this initiative and inviting the Danish Energy Industries Federation to be a partner. Thank you for reaching out, both of you. Well, our relations to Romania are robust. Romania is a strong and important EU partner, country, and also in the green agenda, as highlighted by the ambassador to Denmark. Romania is approximately 6 times larger, and the population is almost 4 times larger than Denmark's. The distance is just below 2,000 kilometers, just a 2-hour flight, or should I say just a click on the computer. We are close. Well, Romania may be a bit overlooked in the Danish media, but during these weeks, it has come to the front as a helpful neighbor to Ukraine, offering help and shelter to the many refugees from the war there. We hope and work for Ukraine to prevail and overcome this unacceptable and incomprehensible invasion. And we salute Romania for all your help. Our exports of energy technologies to Romania are still and steadily growing. Luckily, last year reaching about 40 million euros, and several Danish companies are established already in Romania for sales, services, and also production, while sourcing qualified technical staff at all levels. We expect this exchange to grow much stronger in the coming years. Romania offers ample market
opportunities. This cannot be understated enough. The companies present here today have noticed this. They take part in developing renewable energy, district energy, and also energy efficiency together with Romanian partners. And we're very glad that we also have the Romanian Energy Center and the speech from the president there. Thank you very much for your notes here. You are an important stakeholder also in making these opportunities possible for the Danish companies. So also thank you to you. Now we just have to, is it better? Yeah. Well, with more focus on green transition and energy independence from Russia, with extra funds available in the short run from the EU recovery program, I truly believe that the opportunities have never been stronger. To our Romanian partners in this meeting, I would like to make 2 points. The first point, Danish companies have relevant technologies and solutions to offer to Romania, and we have strong experience, strong engagement and partnership to offer you. Secondly, Denmark's experience in green transition has important learnings. We have been on this route for many, many years, and we have inspiration for Romania, but also other countries on their journey towards more green energy transitions. For decades, we have had a decisive strategy in Denmark moving towards energy efficiency and renewable energy. And our experience expands across a wide range of energy technologies. Let me mention a few here. It's of course wind power, not to say, but also biomass, biogas, solar energy, district heating, energy efficiency in building, as well as in industry. Our optimization has come a long way already, and we have now set a national target for 70% CO2 reduction here in Denmark. It's a strong target, perhaps the most ambitious worldwide, by 2030. And we have set the direction for yet another strong sprint in this. It is an effort which includes all parts of society. It includes industry, which are committed here in Denmark to play a part and take responsibility reaching these targets. The energy industry is a key player in this effort and work with new, strong concepts on top of accelerating the traditional ones. We have brand new strategies and initiatives within Power to X, carbon capture and sector coupling, the difficult challenge with sector coupling, making it more smart across energy systems and towards energy consumers. Optimizing energy across different energy carriers and energy systems, as I said. We pursue a strong international engagement because we understand that climate doesn't respect country borders, and energy solutions need international scale and collaboration to deliver their full potential. We are very interested in learning about your next step in Romania, and I look very much forward to our exchange this morning between strong partners from Denmark and Romania, and for the work ahead of us. I welcome you all to the debate and wish us all a productive meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Anis. I think the core partnership of all is the one between the government in any country and the private sector. One without the other cannot exist. That is why we are so happy to have here Mr. George Niculescu, Vice Minister for Energy from Romania. Please.
Just to fix the microphone. Good morning, hello everybody, distinguished participants, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me tell you that it's an honor for me to be here today, and very glad to be back in Copenhagen for more than 10 years ago, so glad to be back in this beautiful city. Congratulations for this event, Mr. Ambassador. I'm more a dialogue person, so my presentation will be very short. I will present you and I will make you an overview of the Romanian energy sector, how it is presented today, and the opportunities that the energy sector presents to investors, because I think that today's keywords in the energy sector worldwide is investment. So if I have to resume everything now, investment will be the keyword for this period of time. So in Romania, since last year, we were in the middle of a race of decarbonization, yes, transition to a greener and sustainable economy, and on top of this came the crisis of the energy, and the prices of natural gas and energy exploded, as you well know. And on top of that, overlapping, we have this war at our border, this conflict between aggression between Russia and Ukraine. You already know the situation in the Romanian eastern border. So it's not an easy period of time for our energy sector, a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities. So I come back to the investments, and I would like to tell you that the Romanian government has at its disposal the resilience and recovery plan, which we have for the energy sector more than 1.5 billion euros in investments in order to finance projects. On the 31st of March, we launched a call for projects. The total value of this call for projects was 460 million euros. The call for projects is ending on the 31 of May, so it's a two-month window in which investors can come and deploy projects in order to get the finance. We would like to finance more than 950 megawatt of installed power in renewable capacities, 450 in wind projects, and 400 in photovoltaic projects. This is just a small step, because in October we will launch the modernization fund, which is around the value of this fund is around 1.4 billion euros per year. So a very important financial resource in order to develop new clean production capacities in Romania. Coming back to investments, I dare to advise you to seek these opportunities and look into these opportunities to come to Romania and start developing projects, as Romania is nowadays facing the second waves of renewables. On top of that, at the level of the Ministry of Energy, we are working on and I know this topic is very important for you, we are working on creating now the framework and the legal framework for the offshore wind law. We started this process in the end of last year. After the meeting that we had in Washington, we decided that the draft of the law, which is in the parliament since 2019, it's not feasible anymore. So we decided to work with the World Bank. We have them as advisors in order to create a stable and predictable framework for investments in the Black Sea area in offshore wind projects. We have a theoretical study that shows that the potential of the Black Sea, it's strong, good wind we have there. Also, Dobroja area is known for the strong winds, and the first wave of investments took place in that area. So it's natural to say that the Black Sea is an opportunity, and we are looking to step in and be the first country in the Black Sea that will implement offshore wind. So we would like to be pioneers in this respect and be the first country that are developing offshore wind in the Black Sea. I speak with this with great respect due to the fact that I'm from Constanța. Constanța is the largest port in the Black Sea. I used to be the governor of Constanța, so this is very important for me. Investments, transition, money, modernization fund, recovery plan, framework, a lot of activities, a lot of developments. Looking forward to speak with you if you have any questions. As I told you, I'm more of a dialogue guy, so thank you very much for the attention and looking forward to speak with you and to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
I'm also from Constanța, so this is also very important for me. When I was growing up by the sea, I never thought that one day there may be the prospect of seeing wind turbines at the Black Sea, and I hope to see them as soon as possible. To keep unveiling bit by bit the story of this nice event, you need a lot of friends and important friends when you want to organize such an event. And of course, when you have such an event, you have to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Denmark, which has a trade council, and an important person, State Secretary Steen Hommel, whom I consider a friend of ours, because we couldn't have shaped the topic in this context without good advice, and you gave us also set the course for us, and we are happy that you are now here. So please have the floor.
Thank you very much for this very kind intervention.
We do need to be friends in these times. But let me start by saying, Excellency Minister, Ambassador, thank you so much for organizing this event. It is very timely. We do need a swift push for green energy transition in Europe. I'm so delighted to see the many familiar faces from the Danish side, companies and authorities, but also new faces from the Romanian side, and I hope to see you also again, because we do need this cooperation. The solutions needed to scale up in order to deliver on the challenges ahead cannot be delivered single-handedly or within one technology alone. We definitely need the cross-border cooperation. We need the close partnerships, already mentioned here as significant, and partnerships is between governments, authorities, businesses, financial institutions, as mentioned by you, Minister, but also by academia. It's also about innovation. Over the past months, we have all felt the effects of high volatile energy prices, not only on energy, but also on food. And we've seen the aggravating effects by the horrific war in Ukraine. This war by Russia is also a threat to the European energy supply, and it has demonstrated that it's not only about an over-dependence on Russian gas, it's also accentuating the nexus between energy policy and security policy. They go, unfortunately, hand in hand. The case for a rapid green transition has never been stronger than it is today. We need to act. We need to act now. It is about investing in our future, for our climate, mentioned also by you, Minister. It's about sustainable growth, and it's definitely about security, and it's about future generations. So I guess the burning platform has never been more hot than it is right now. Also mentioned already, we do have the EU recovery package. It's a massive 750 billion euros across Europe, and it's about cross-border cooperation, so this is important. It's not only green, but it's very much a green transition being fueled by this. This will be center stage looking ahead for sustainable growth and for ensuring employment in our countries. Continuing on this path, this has only been raised the bar through the war in Ukraine. We need the expansion of renewable energy, we need energy efficiency improvements, and we need to do this hand in hand to make sure we can overcome these challenges, not only in the next few years, but in the next many, many years. With the EU recovery, with Repower EU, the Commission has presented an outline of a plan how to make Europe independent from Russian gas. Besides diversification of the current gas supplies, the plan aims to create integrated energy systems based on renewables, greater energy efficiency, and electrification. In April this year, so a few days ago, more or less, Danish government proposed an ambitious plan which would complement the objectives of the Repower EU. The ambitions include, amongst others, a 15-fold increase in the current offshore capacity in Denmark, as well as a 4-fold increase in electricity produced from solar and onshore wind before 2030. So extremely ambitious. Something we cannot do alone, why this room, again, is extremely important. This will make Denmark an even greater powerhouse than it is today and provide significant contribution to the energy security of Europe. At the same time, it also highlights Denmark's position as a global green frontrunner that we would like to stay in front of, and we need your cooperation to do so. Through decades of demonstrated green transition, also mentioned by Troels, sustainable growth have been shown to go hand in hand with green transition. A strong tradition for public-private partnerships in Denmark has been key to this success. Some would even say sometimes you have a hard time telling the difference between company and authorities in this because our objectives are so interlinked. Sometimes you can't tell the difference between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry for Energy because we are so aligned on our objectives and we see them go hand in hand. As mentioned, no one can handle this massive task alone. Therefore, we hope this event can lead to new avenues of cooperation on top of those already existing, benefiting from the momentum we have. And the valuable exchange you will have today is a significant part of this. I'm sure that the expertise and the innovative solutions that we have in Denmark can make a real contribution to the continued green transition in Romania and vice versa. In Denmark, we must remain open to get the input from outside as well to improve our own innovation and solutions for Denmark. Danish companies present here today are individually leaders within their respective fields and have many years of experience innovating, designing, constructing, manufacturing, implementing these energy solutions. I hope that you will have an interesting panel discussion also on the industry side that will inspire for new business opportunities, creating new jobs, sustainable growth, and be part of ensuring a secure every day in Romania, in Denmark, and in Europe. With that, I thank you all for being here and look forward to continued discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, State Secretary. So for a partnership to happen, you need a handshake and at least 2 signatures. And one person in this room from the Danish side who signs a lot of these partnerships is Mr. Bøtzau, Director of the Danish Energy Agency, a key player in the Ministry of Climate, Energy and Utilities of Denmark. Please, Mr. Bøtzau.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to see you all here. East European frontrunners and Nordic frontrunners when it comes to green transition. And that's actually what it's all about. I need this a little bit higher, I think, like this. So, well, distinguished guests, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, it's really an honor to be here. And as you said, Mr. Ambassador, it's the first time that we come together like this. And Romania is very ambitious when it comes to green transition, and Denmark is also one of the most ambitious countries in Europe and in the world, actually. But let me take you 50 years back in time. In the beginning of another crisis, the oil crisis in the 1970s, when Denmark were 99% dependent on fossil fuels from other countries. And it hit Denmark very hard. And we started up actually the green transition with district heating, with wind, energy efficiency, etc. Today, 50 years later, we are one of the most independent countries in Europe. And I think that we can learn from this journey, from taking a crisis that we are in the middle of, and we are in the middle of a crisis today, and see it as a possibility to move forward and move faster than we have planned. And when I look at EU, when I look at the European countries, actually I see this faster move, and it's very good and it's very needed. Well, this journey, this 50 years journey, actually stands on the three topics of today: onshore and offshore wind, integrated smart grids, and district heating. And let me take them one by one. If we start with onshore and offshore wind, the International Energy Agency says that in 2040, offshore wind will be the cheapest way to produce electricity, and onshore wind will be the second one. But I think that will be there before, because if I look at the last 10 years, we have seen that in 2013, the state of Denmark had to pay hundreds of millions of euros to have offshore wind tenders of 400 megawatt offshore wind parks. Our latest tender, the Thor tender, 1 gigawatt in the North Sea between Denmark and UK. We have 6 pre-qualified bidders, and 5 of them were willing to pay the state of Denmark about 800 million euros just to have the possibility to build offshore wind in this area, including the grid transition to the shore. So within 10 years, we have moved from offshore being very cost-driven, subsidy-driven, towards an industry where it's good for the society. It pays to the society actually quite a lot. And we see that the North Sea, that today, where we have oil and gas production, it pays to the state of Denmark. But in the coming years, I believe that offshore wind will be the one industry that will pay the most to all of us. And you can do the same in the Black Sea, I believe. Denmark is number 1 in the world when it comes to wind power in your electricity system. 47% of our electricity came from wind last year. And then you can ask, well, wind is a variable energy source. How do you control it? What's the security of supply? Because the customers and the inhabitants of Denmark wants to have power on the switch when they need it. And actually we are number 1 in Europe. 99.996% of a year, an average Dane can expect to have power in the switch, meaning that only 20 minutes there will be outage. And how have we managed that? Well, that's the second theme of today, interconnected smart grids, because we are very well interconnected to our neighboring countries. And it gives us the flexibility of balancing this variable wind power that we cannot control when to produce, but we can control the demand and we can control our interconnectors to our neighboring countries. So the smart grid and the interconnectors are some of the needed technologies for incorporating more and more wind in the energy system. But there's also the third theme of today, that's district heating, and that's actually gives you more flexibility, because you can use the district heating as a balancing source for your wind power. 65% of Danish households are heated up by district heating. And it gives us the possibility of using the cheap wind electricity, use the excess heat from our industry, and at the same time have flexible sources and different sources in the district heating system. And actually, it's in these times where gas prices are very high due to the war in Ukraine, less than 10% of the district heating households actually see rises in the district heating prices. Because you can shift from gas to electricity, to biomass, to biogas, or whatever. It gives you a much more stable and controlled system. Well, I think that's why I'm so happy that these three themes are excellent when you have to talk about green transition. And it gives you the answers of how to get there in a way where you don't question your security of supply. And you can do it very cost efficiency. So actually, it's the three themes for today. I hope we will have a very good discussion, and I'm looking very much forward to it. Thank you very much, and thank you especially, Mr. Vice Minister, to come here to Denmark. Thank you.
Mr. Christopher Birzow, thank you very much once again. In Romania, we have the civil society pushing very hard in the direction, in a new direction for climate change. We have the private sector, we have the government, and we have the president of the country who has come out very seriously and has declared that this is the official course for Romania towards renewables as a key pillar. And the president of Romania has a counselor who is extremely determined to blow very hard the wind in this direction. Her name is Alexandra Maria Bocșe. She couldn't be, although she tried very hard, but in the end she could manage to be with us online. She is another big friend of our embassy and a staunch supporter, because if you want to aim high, you need also very strong friends. Please tell me if Mrs. Alexandra Bocșe is already in direct line with us. Please tell me if the delay. Mrs. Alexandra Bocșe is already in direct line with us. Yes. The delay. Mrs. Alexandra Bocșe is already in direct line with us. The delay. Mrs. Alexandra Bocșe is already 30 seconds. We cannot hear you. Seconds.
Okay, I'll just start then.
Perfect. We cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me.
We can. Seconds.
Okay, I'll just start then. Okay, so it's a bit actually difficult, but I trust you can hear me. I could hear myself on the YouTube channel, so I think the technical conditions are met, and I apologize. It's a bit difficult because I'm following you on YouTube and you are ahead, and then I have to speak through Zoom. But the technical issues aside, thank you so much for this invitation. Thank you so much for organizing this event. You do count on the support of the Romanian presidential administration for this kind of endeavors. And I want to start by congratulating our embassy, the Embassy of Romania in the Kingdom of Denmark, for their work in general on the bilateral green agenda, and in particular for organizing this specific event. I will also mention that for the last years, there has been a flourishing cooperation between Romania and Denmark when it comes to the green agenda, and we look towards expanding this cooperation, and this event is contributing to this. I also want to mention that the topics that you included on the agenda are very timely. Indeed, I want also to refer to the general geopolitical context that we are currently living, and the fact that, of course, we are living times in which we are trying to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels in order to tackle climate change, but also we are taking measures at the European and national level to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels coming from Russia. In terms of the general context, I have listened to what you said during this event on the YouTube channel. And one of the words that came up quite often was the word crisis. And we have hopefully we have emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic, and currently we are facing at least two main crises. So there is the climate crisis that will stay with us for the next decades, and as one of the speakers mentioned, probably for the next century. And then is the geopolitical context and the situation in Ukraine, and all the effects that had created. We know that climate change is actually happening at a higher speed than even scientists had anticipated. If we are to look into the IPCC reports published this spring, we know that the climate crisis will also trigger deaths, unfortunately, will increase the mortality rate, will impact people that have different kind of health conditions. So I guess there is no need to convince you about the seriousness of climate change and the fact that this is a real crisis that we need to address. But at the same time, in our general response to the situation in Ukraine, we have seen a lot of unity. We have seen a lot of cooperation between states. And this kind of show of unity and willing to cooperate is essential also in tackling climate change. So we can take something from our experience in dealing with the Ukrainian crisis and apply it to climate change. I also want to mention that we are not isolated from the war and its consequences. Even if the war doesn't happen on our territory, it happens on the territory of Ukraine. And how we respond to the war shapes our climate response on the short and long term. And there has been a lot of talk about a new order, maybe a new world order emerging after the war in Ukraine. We need to make sure that this world order has consideration for sustainability and prioritizing tackling climate change. Also, when we look at the general context and the impact of war, we have seen that the war in Ukraine has led to commitment and action in support of the green transition. And we have seen this kind of push, this kind of move at the European level. We have seen signals in this direction from the United States. So one of the effects of the war is a commitment and action towards accelerating the green transition. And in our response to the Ukraine crisis, when it comes to the field of energy, we are guided by the EU framework, of course. And on the mid and long term, we have taken a commitment to develop and deploy low carbon energy. And also we have taken a commitment to support policy measures that are enabling sustainable growth and development. I also want to end up by mentioning that no matter how challenging the current context, we need to make the most of the opportunities that it creates. And in this regard, it is essential to cooperate with key partners. And this is the case with Denmark. And when it comes to our areas of cooperation, of course, cooperation on renewables, on offshore wind is very important. And when it comes to this area of cooperation, of course, we are interested in playing a more important role in different wind initiatives that Denmark is supporting at the international level. Also, we are interested in cooperating when it comes to enhancing our administrative capacity to enable the green transition. And we have already done some work, and we are interested in expanding on that, on exchanging ideas and good practices about how to engage the private sector, to make the private sector a close partner of the government when it comes to enabling the green transition. Thank you so much again for the invitation to this event. I hope that the discussions taking place in Copenhagen will be very interesting. And I hope that I could convey this message quite well, despite the technical problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Alexandra Bokche. The race for the green is profoundly shaping not only societies and the private sector, but also our diplomacy, because in the ministries of foreign affairs all around the world and in Europe, there is also a race for diplomats to learn the new language. All of a sudden we need to understand things that maybe in school we weren't so good at, like physics or chemistry, like what is power to x, what is, how does offshore wind work, what is district heating. We have also reshaped the way we look at diplomacy. We have now the climate diplomacy, and each Ministry of Foreign Affairs is trying to establish a network of green embassies. So we also have new names now. We happen to be one of the green embassies, and of course you need a leader to develop this network, and we are very happy to have this leader in the house today. It is Mrs. Tatiana Iosipar, who is the Romanian ambassador for climate, or as we call the special representative for energy and climate diplomacy at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Tatiana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It is very difficult to be the fifth Romanian speaker and try to come up with something new that you haven't heard already about us. Thank you very much, Alina, for your presentation. My position in the Foreign Ministry, it is indeed new, as we are trying to bring climate change into our diplomatic action. Your Excellencies, dear Vice Ministers, Permanent Secretary, dear State Advisor, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure and a distinct honor to be here, to be able to address you here today in Copenhagen at the beautiful residence of our ambassador, a colleague whose commitment and passion for climate action leads to opening new avenues for bilateral cooperation. I would also like to welcome the participation of Romanian, Danish, and I've heard even German companies, energy companies, a clear indicator of the interest to cooperate, to do business in energy transition, taking advantage of the opportunities in renewable, especially in wind, on and offshore. I'm looking forward to their contribution to the discussion, to them sharing lessons learned, best practices, based on decades of Danish experience in this field, and as a technology buff myself, to exciting updates on green technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, the present security situation in Ukraine brings to the forefront more than ever the issue of energy security and the importance for the European states to get rid of their energy dependency from Russia. This is a particularly important decision taken by European leaders. Phasing out energy dependency on Russia is an extremely ambitious goal, especially given the tight timeline. But also it is true that the European Union is more than ever equipped with the necessary tools to achieve these objectives. I'm referring, of course, to the Green Deal, to the plans to decarbonize the European economy, to the tools provided by Repower EU, to the funds from the funds available through the Recovery Fund and the Modernization Fund. And yet, the dilemma of the short-term measures remains. Here too, I believe that the vision at the European level crystallizes a series of clear directions for mitigating the direct effect of this crisis on European energy security, both from the perspective of functioning market and the perspective of security of supply. We in Romania see an increased interest in investment in energy production and storage capacities, but also in the diversification of natural gas imports. Romania has a chance to maximize its energy production and already plays an active role in facilitating access to imports from alternative sources, pipeline or LNG. As Mrs. Bokche just mentioned, we are also increasing our efforts to enhance our energy independence, mainly through the development of renewables and emissions-free nuclear energy. Currently, about 24% of our energy production comes from renewable, wind, solar and biomass, and our target for 2030 is to reach 30.7 in our energy mix, adding 6.9 gigawatts of capacity. So far, Romania has only onshore wind farms, and as you've heard, we have a significant potential for offshore wind energy in the Black Sea. We are ready to assume a regional leadership role in the field of offshore energy, convinced that such an investment will contribute to job creation, strengthening energy security, and combat climate change. As the State Secretary mentioned, companies interested in investing in renewable energy in Romania will find a welcoming environment as we are able to attract grants and we are running national support schemes. Currently, we have two investment support schemes with an allocated budget of 460 million euros for new capacity for the production of energy from renewable wind and solar. Dear friends, is the political commitment to phase out energy dependency on Russia impacting our climate goals? Are we going to go back to fossil fuel with dire consequences for greenhouse gas emissions, or are we speeding up our transition to green energy? The Secretary General of NATO published recently a report on the consequences of the Ukraine conflict on food security, energy, and financing. And the report says that we see two tendencies: countries going back to investment in mining and fossil fuel production and production of energy from fossil. And also we see countries accelerating their green transition and moving faster towards green energy. And the report says that the jury is still out. We don't know at the end of the day how globally, which way globally the world is going to move. And I think Romania and EU, for us the answer is clear: an accelerated reduction of the fossil fuel consumption, increased energy efficiency and production of renewable energy sources. Denmark is leading the way with a plan to quadruple, to increase fourfold by 2030 the green energy production by wind, solar and biomass. This is an inspiration to us all. We should not let a good crisis go to waste. The measures we envisage in response to Russian aggression to Ukraine will reduce strategic vulnerabilities, will increase energy security, and will pave the way for further emission reductions in the years to come. Thank you very much.
But not least, the speaker of the event, we wanted to kick off the event with an ambassador and to close it very nicely with another ambassador. It is Mr. Søren Jensen, the ambassador of Denmark to Bucharest, who is a co-runner, I would say, in this wild race for green. I will not say any other words, just thumbs up. I'm sure everything will be fine.
I am very happy to be with you. I'm also following this on the other platform, and on there I'm still not on, so I hope that you can actually hear me. But I guess I will be seeing myself in a minute. Anyway, this is a greeting. Thank you first of all, and thank you also. Congratulations to Alexandru for bringing together these experts both from Denmark and from Romania. Very happy to join you today. As you know, we are the, so to speak, the boots on the ground, all of your boots on the ground, all the Danish companies and the Danish interests. We're here to assist you in Romania, of course, having the day-to-day dialogue with our very good Romanian counterparts, working very closely with them, and happy to see so many of them also engaged in today's meeting. As Alexander Rocha has already said, we are already seeing a quite flourishing cooperation between the Danish and the Romanian companies, in particular when it comes to the active engagement of the Romanian approach to climate change. I would also say that during the time I've been here, we've seen what I would call a substantial increase in the whole approach and the attention that climate change has been given in Romania. As we've heard, there has been a green transition in Romania to some extent already. Actually, Romania is among the more sustainable countries, but perhaps the concentration, the focus on the underlying issue of climate change has also become much stronger in Romania. The fact that we have a presidential advisor on the issue, the fact that we now have a climate ambassador also is a testimony to that strong interest, and it's also something we see in the civil society that we visit and that we meet with. I think much has been said already very well about the potential for cooperation. It's huge. The areas are massive, where Danish know-how, Danish expertise is available, and where Romania stands to be able to benefit. It has not least to do with the on and offshore opportunities, the potential that are here for Romania. It has to do with the solar projects, the solar energy projects. There's also geothermal energy, lots of that available in Romania, lots of potential which can be utilized. The whole hydrogen area, the power to X potential, biofuels. And then what I would like to highlight, because we've spoken a little bit less of that, it has to do with the energy efficiency side, not least in both private and in public buildings. The Romanian government has set aside, among the fundings, it's receiving over 2 billion euros for various opportunities within the energy efficiency sector. Denmark, again, has a great deal of experience when it comes to energy efficient, both on the legislative side, the rules, the way we are implementing and doing it in our buildings, in our construction, as well as in our industry. And we have the companies that are engaged in the production of the materials, be it windows, be it insulation, be it the heat pumps that can facilitate the energy efficiency both in private buildings, and certainly also in industry. So that being one I think area that I would like to highlight. The other one, as has already been mentioned several times, is of course district heating. I think we're all still working hard when it comes to district heating. I know that Denmark is also now moving forward on district heating in light of the developments on the gas markets. But Romania has a huge potential also for utilizing better the opportunities that present themselves in district heating. Again, Danish companies have the know-how to help project, to help with consultancy, as well as with the inventory for these kind of projects. And as your boots on the ground, we're of course active here as well. We are actually next week having a large event hosted by, or co-hosted by, the Danish Board of District Heating, along with its Romanian counterpart, Cogen, an event in Brașov, where at the moment we have just under 50 Romanian participants, and we have 7, 8 Danish companies who are also going to attend the event. I'm looking very much forward to being there and joining those of you who will also be there. But as I say, as your boots on the ground, we are ready to help, to facilitate, to assist, to connect wherever we can, to play our role. And thanks again to my colleagues in Copenhagen for this very nice event. I would have loved to have been there, but unfortunately, I wouldn't say, but a lot of other activities have made it necessary for me to stay in Romania. Thank you, and have a wonderful conference.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Søren Jensen. I declare now the end of the first panel. There will be a break, but before, I would like to make sure that each person in this room will find its way on that door, because we would like to have a group photo with all of you to have a memory of today. Thank you very much.
sorry to interrupt. I would kindly ask you to take your seats. Start the second panel.
Mhm. 30 more seconds just to get in the mood to start over again and to make sure that everybody's with us. Right, I think we can be ready to start the second part of our event today. Greetings from my behalf also. My name is Mihai Macare, I'm from the Romanian Energy Center. And during the first part of this event, we've been presented a glimpse into what Romania and Denmark at the country level are doing in terms of energy transition. Now it's time to take a closer look into what the beneficiaries actually of the energy policies, the companies, are doing, what their strategies and plans are. Our first speaker represents the largest and greenest electricity producer in Romania. Please welcome Mr. Marian Bratu, member of the board at Hidroelectrica.
Sorry for my devices because my speech and my ideas at the hotel, and I need to use the devices because I have some figures here and some ideas, and I need to present you our company. And I started to say thank you for your invitation. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to participate in this important event dedicated to connected energy opportunities and project in Romania with Danish technology producer and best practices. Please allow me to congratulate the Romanian Embassy in Denmark, the Danish Federation of the Energy Industry, and of course the Romanian Center of Energy for this invitation, because it's an opportunity for our company to establish connection with some companies from Denmark to use the best practices, of course, for offshore wind, and maybe for the solar, maybe for the efficiency. And hydrogen at last, because hydrogen, in my opinion, it's a little bit further technology, the technology of the future. Because now this technology is not so economically efficient for the society with necessary to produce profit. It's a little bit for the future, in my opinion. Okay. First, I want to present in short words our company, Hidroelectrica. Maybe not all the people for this know it. The company was founded in 2000 and quickly established itself on the Romanian energy market with its experience, credibility, and flexibility, being currently the main producer and supplier of electricity in Romania. As well as Hidroelectrica is the main provider of ancillary system technological services required in the national electric system. The company is currently managed in dualistic system by a directorship under the control of supervisory board. I am a member of the board. I am COO. Mr. Badea, who is CEO of the company, he can't be here, but I represent the company, I hope so, with success. The majority of the company capital belongs to Romanian state through the Minister of Energy, which holds 80.06% of the shares. The second shareholders are proprietary fund with 19.9% of the shares. At the end of the year 2020, Hidroelectrica obtained an electricity production of 16.9 terawatt-hour from 187 operating capacities with a total installed capacities of 6.3 gigawatt. In medium year Hidroelectrica produce almost 15 terawatt-hour per year. At the end of the year 2021, Hidroelectrica registered a net profit of 3.02 billion RON, almost 600 million euros, almost, approximately. Compared to a turnover of 6.5 billion RON, almost 1.3 billion euros, I suppose, in approximately. So Hidroelectrica has a good cash flow, has potential to invest in diverse direction of green energy. So, about the strategy and plans of Hidroelectrica, I want to say you at the end of, in the year 2020, Romania approved at the shareholders a plan to develop in some direction of the energy green. Was built in, the direction of development was built in close connection with the priority of national system, including the urgent need to add new production capacity in the national energy infrastructure to cover the consumption curve. Also, there are another capacities which plan to be withdrawn from operation. So, Hidroelectrica developed project the modernization and rehabilitation of the hydropower plant which operation in the present and want to develop in direction of the onshore and offshore wind production and also the solar energy and have a project pilot to hydrogen in, I suppose it's Mr. Krishan saw it, it's a project with energy produced on solar of the floating solar, sorry, and hydrogen with storage in capacity hydrogen. After that, it's a project pilot we started already, and we hope so we'll finish with success. Okay, about the capacities in okay, in this sense, by implementing the company's strategic plans, the aim is put to new capabilities into operation as follows. 240 megawatt by completing the hydropower project under construction, up to 70-40 megawatt by capitalizing and economically available hydropower potential available, and at least 1,100 megawatt by carrying out project to diversify the production portfolio by developing new capacities based on other renewable energy, onshore and offshore. This is almost approximately 400 to 600 megawatt on offshore, also 400 to 600 or 700 capacities developing onshore, and the difference on the solar photovoltaic energy depends. We try it now to develop the project on the floating solar energy and some farm solar energy on the existing site on our hydropower plant. There are under construction you can put the solar panel and produce energy, green energy. In order to develop a new photovoltaic capacity, Hidroelectrica initiated already 5 projects. 4 of them are currently carried out feasibility studies, which will be the basis for the decision to approve investment object of the level of Hidroelectrica. These projects are construction of solar park of Tudor Vladimirescu in Brăila country. It's a power installed 45.9 megawatt. Other project, it's a photovoltaic park in country Mândra, and realization of the project Proud Energy Management, it's the name of the project, photovoltaic park and green hydrogen production plant, about I told you. For this project, we approved the conceptual note, developing design term. Maybe here it's a way to find the connection with the Danish to help us to develop this project, because it's a project in the which is developed now in this moment. The other project within implementation of pilot project to capitalize solar potential offered by surface of the accumulation lake in the Hidroelectrica. This project has an installed power of between 520 megawatt, and it's in development stage of feasibility study. And this is the other project where we can find the way to collaborate with the industry of Danish. At the same time, Hidroelectrica aims to maintain the company position in the field of electricity production and the supply of system services through the acquisition of other companies. These companies must fulfill technical and economical requirements accepted by the company. I want to say I'm here, I'm the technical member of the board, but in my opinion, we can find a lot of connection and a lot of way to collaborate to Danish industry, because here are a lot of experience and best practices to develop our project. I hope so. We establish connection with already I discussed with CIP company, and maybe in the future we invite in Romania when we have a framework with offshore, like Mr. Secretary told you, and we can together develop in short time and finalize the project of green energy, because it's important not to talk with finalize and put the capacities in the system with all the Europe, because we need to be together now. It's a strange time. We need to be together and develop the capacities, new capacities in Europe. Thank you very much. Sorry for my speech. I don't have a good practices in speech on English. I only.
Thank you, Mr. Blato.
Thanks.
Your message was received perfectly. Represents an enabler of the green transition, a company which develops, constructs, and operates power plants on solar, wind, and power-to-X. Mr. Torvald Spargaard, Global Project Director, European Energy, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Just a little bit about our company to start with, but thank you so much for the invitation today. We really appreciate this opportunity to share experiences, meet new friends, and maybe also to develop some partnerships. So dear friends, dear new friends, excellencies, European Energy is of course a private company, and as such we develop right now in 20 countries. We have offices in 16 countries, most of them in Europe, but also in North and South America and Australia. We are right now building 1.2 gigawatt of projects in 8 countries, both solar and wind onshore, but also what I think might be one of the largest fully integrated power-to-X facilities in Europe. So, and this is in Denmark, in Jutland, where we are currently constructing a 300 megawatt solar project, fully integrated with hydrogen and methanol production. We're quite excited about that, and we will soon deliver to our customers from that facility. So we do onshore, we do floating as well, floating solar. We also do develop offshore, near shore, and then we went into downstream technologies, integrating with heat pumps, with district heating, with hydrogen and methanol production over the last year or so. For Romania specifically, we started last year. We set up an office in Bucharest, where we now have a team who develops solar and wind onshore in the market. And we are quite excited. It's a good market. As a private developer, we look for several things when we go into a market. We look for the natural resource. We need wind, we need solar production, of course. We need land, permits, and grid. So the land is there. There's a lot of suitable land in Romania. There's a lot of natural resources. So as so many other places, of course, what is difficult is having the grid capacity available in time, but of course also the permits. This is not anything special for Romania, but it's something we struggle with in most countries, getting permits quickly enough and reliably enough. That's not easy. Also converting land, the land conversion, the zone planning and all that. So if I should highlight a few points that we see in the market, it is of course the regulatory framework. We look to, I mean, in some European countries they have escalated, let's say, the planning processes, trying to reform it to make it go faster. Lithuania and Latvia comes to mind as some countries. I think for Romania it is a very good market, but it is also taking a lot of time. And I also hear that from local partners that it is a complicated process. And I do think that something could be considered to be done. It's not very easy, and we are not saying there are any easy solutions. Then I would also like to highlight the infrastructure, of course, getting the national circle of the 400 kV line fully built out will be quite important for the large-scale projects. The modernization of the power markets, including the balancing services, which is of course not only a regulatory issue, but it's also having the investments to make the grid smarter. I also hope here the Danish colleagues can perhaps help. I think that could be quite important. And then, of course, on the financing and PPA side, I think there are plenty of opportunities. Surprisingly, we think it's really vibrating, and we hope to close some of the first deals over this summer. Let's see how that plays out. So there are plenty of opportunities. I think the integration with offshore, when the new legislation is in place, is also something we will be happy to take a look at, especially if there's an open procedure regulation. Maybe also here mentioning hydrogen and methanol, which is of course mentioned everywhere these days in all European countries. I think facilitating from a regulatory point of view cannot be underestimated. It is very complicated just in a country like this, in Denmark, to fully integrate between power generation through hydrogen to methanol. It is complicated, let me just say that. Regulatory bodies engaging and trying to pave the way with the right framework is super important. I think Romania has a great opportunity to maybe even be an exporter of hydrogen and other, let's say, green fuels. The natural resources are there, and I think it could really happen. And then maybe a final point I would like to mention is that what is always important and what we are always looking for is, of course, having good friends and good partnerships. Combining companies with the experience from other markets, with local players who understand the institutions, understands the regulatory frameworks, can really create great results. That goes for offshore, it goes for onshore, and certainly for power to X. So all in all, we are very positive. We will continue to invest. We will continue to develop, and we hope that it'll be a great market. I actually sometimes think that the official ambitions of Romania are actually too small. I think you could do double or triple if you wanted to. I don't think that's. I know it'll take some time, but over the next 10 years, you can really triple. I think compared to your ambitions. But there are a lot of considerations. It's not that easy. When we started up Romania last year, and we met with some of the officials also in the Ministry of Energy, it was very clear that already back then, energy policy, climate policy, and national security policy was already converging. It was already the same thing, and I think that urgency is, of course, there even more today, and the opportunities are there. So thank you so much for this opportunity today. We look forward to talk with all of you in detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Having the outlook of the production side, we are now moving on to the backbone of the energy system. Energinet is the Danish TSO for electricity and natural gas, and I'm happy to hopefully introduce online Mr. Peter Markussen, Senior Director. Mr. Markussen, if you can hear us. There is a slight delay between our Zoom connection and YouTube. So now I'm going to greet again Mr. Markussen.
Mr. Markussen, if you can hear us. Yes, I can hear you. But I think there still are some delays. There is a slight delay between our Zoom connection and YouTube. So now I'm going to greet again Mr. Markussen. Mr. Markussen, you can hear us? Yes, I can hear you. But I think there still are some delays. There is a slight delay between our Zoom connection and YouTube. So now I'm going to greet again Mr. Markussen. Mr. Markussen, can you hear us? Yes. Yes, thank you.
And yeah, I'm very sorry that I'm not able to be there today. And I must just admit that I've found out that Corona is still in the society, and I had a positive test yesterday, and feeling quite well. But I thought I would follow the recommendation from the authorities and stay at home. I have brought a few slides also. I think as the first presenter today, and hope to see that you can see them on the screen. As I can see on the YouTube channel, it is quite small slides. So I hope you can make them a bit larger. Otherwise, I will just tell about my points. But my name is Peter Markussen. I work for the Danish transmission system operator in Energinet with international relations. And I'm happy to be able to tell about how we try to support the Danish energy transition with our operation of both the gas and electricity system, and also we're having the responsibility for the security of supply, both the day-to-day but also the long-term planning. And we owned by the Danish Ministry of Climate, Energy and Utilities. So, and please take slide number 2. Yeah, I know there are some delays here, so it might be a bit difficult with the slides. So please go to slide number 3. And and then you see this is yeah. So the challenge we are working with is really a large increase in the production of green electricity and also the demand for green electricity. So we are actually looking into a doubling of the Danish electricity demand over the next 10 years. That's something we haven't seen for the last 40 years in Denmark. So that really is a challenge. And if we then look towards 2040, it's almost 3 times as much green electricity that will then be produced, but then also used for producing hydrogen for electricity to heat, and also in electrification of some of our industries, and of course also for transport. So this is a huge challenge where you need electricity infrastructure. So please take the next slide. Because it's not just electricity, it's also the gas sector, where we see green gas being produced from biogas already today. Around 25% of our gas is from biogas. Towards 2030, we see a small increase in gas, but 75% will be from biogas. And in 2040, we expect to have a fully green gas sector as well. And now this might even be a bit outdated. Of course, this was something made last year before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and with the new EU packages and also new proposals from the government, this might move on even faster. Maybe on the short term, a faster decrease in gas used for heating in the homes, but in the future, there will be produced more biogas and maybe even for exports. And a challenge here is of course that with biogas, then we suddenly change the flow in our gas system, where it's no longer gas flowing from transmission to distribution, but actually gas are being produced on distribution grid and then need to be moved to the transmission grid. Actually, the same development we have already seen in the electricity sector, where electricity now is produced in distribution grid and then flows to the transmission and allocated to the larger load centers. The next slide, please. So how do we integrate the renewables? And it has been mentioned earlier today, where one thing is our established tools, where we need a strong grid interconnection, both for gas and electricity. And we need markets to have efficient allocation and dispatch, and also to provide flexibility. We need specialized analysis and models, and also long-term planning with a high degree of stakeholder involvement. But these tools are no longer enough when we are going to more than triple our production from solar and wind. It's no longer not just enough to have export capacity to have the flexibility, but you also need the increase in demand and the flexibility. So through sector coupling, that will be one of the very important new tools. And then we also need to create the right market incentives and operational optimization. And for that, we need new players, new partnerships, but also digitalization and digital solutions to reduce the complexity and the costs of integrating these large shares of renewables. And with digital solutions, there also is a need for open access to data, where in Energinet we are owner of the Danish Data Hub, where there is a free access to a very large number of data to be used in different by different private companies. Next slide, please. So the solutions we are looking at are on the one hand, say, large-scale solutions, where, for example, as the energy islands, it's the Baltic Pipe project. It is also, we are now looking at establishing a hydrogen backbone. It also international cooperation with both European, regional, global TSOs. For example, we already have a good dialogue with Transgas and Transelectrica, the Romanian gas TSO and electricity TSO, through the cooperation in NSOE and ENSOC. That's the European organizations for gas and electricity TSOs. And we also have a good dialogue with Transgas in Gas Infrastructure Europe. That's also an interest organization for gas infrastructure owners in Europe. And then there is the electrification, the green gas digital transformation that is just as an important part of the solution. So on the one hand, we have the hardware, we have the cooperation, and then we need the software through the flexibility and the electrification of the system. So next slide, please. So just to give the short example of the energy island, where we are building one in the North Sea. It's 80 kilometers from the shore of western part of Denmark, Jutland. We start with 3 gigawatt, expect to go to 10, and it's an investment of around 28 billion euros, including the 10 gigawatt wind farm. We will be the owner of the interconnectors and the converters, whereas the island will be a state and private-owned project. So the time plan is that we are now doing the preliminary studies, the cabling routes, the environmental assessments, and then we will expect to see the tender that will be done by the Danish Energy Agency in maybe in 2023-24, and we expect then to be up and running around 2031-2033 when we have the wind as well. So it's a very big project, and it takes around 10 years to do. And even with the new plans or proposals from the government, it might even be more energy islands moving on faster than this. Next slide, please. Then to mention Baltic Pipe, it will be up and running in October this year. And it has been discussed for many, many years with our Polish partners. But with the invasion of Crimea back in 2014, that really put a go on the Polish interest in establishing a gas pipeline from the North Sea to Poland. And it really is a gain for all the partners in this project, where On the one hand, we look at a lower transmission tariff with better utilization of our transmission grid. There is increased security of supply, gas diversification in Poland. And we have in Norway that would have a direct export corridor from the Norwegian shelf. And of course, as from the EU as a whole, there is a benefit of better integration of the European gas markets. The next slide, please. And say the other part of the gas is the green gas, the biogas, where in the last 10 years have been established a large number of smaller and larger biogas plants, especially in the western part of Denmark. And we now have a biomethane share of 25% and increasing. And of course, as part of this, it is both the gas distribution grid that need to be developed. That's responsibility of also another state-owned company, Evida, whereas the transmission also needs to be upgraded with the recompression units. But it is increasing, and of course, a challenge is to know when the next and where the next biogas plant will be built. And the next slide, please. So also, if you look at the power to X, or mainly power to hydrogen, and then the hydrogen can be used for different purposes. There is a number of projects being planned around in Denmark, and that is then the job for us to connect to the electricity grid, but also to find out if there is a use of the existing gas grid. It could be both on distribution level and transmission level. But it is moving on very fast, and you say just 2 years ago there were actually almost no projects in Denmark or in a very early phase, but now it is reality, and we will see more than 5 gigawatt, or we expect more than 5 gigawatt before 2025. So it will really move on fast with power to hydrogen in Denmark. And then just my last slide is just to sum up, we say the importance also of the system operators, and we will be very glad also to give and share our knowledge with we already do with the Romanian TSOs, but also with other parties that could be interested in knowing how to say speed up the integration of green electricity and green gas in the energy system, because that is the important goal, both for the green transition, but also for energy security, and to make it affordable for everyone. So thank you very much. Both for the green transition, but also for energy security. And
a subject where Denmark has a bit of experience, as far as I know, which is district heating. Nearly 2/3 of the Danish households, which is impressive, are supplied with district heating, so we are naturally moving forward to this topic. In Romania's capital city, Bucharest, with a network of almost 3,000 kilometers, Termoenergetica is the largest supplier of heating in Romania. And we have today with us its CEO, Mr. Claudiu Crețu.
Thank you for the possibility to address a few words. I would like to present what district heating in Bucharest means. Right now we are on the front line in mass media. Every day we have breakdowns, we have problems. But why? Because our decision makers didn't treat seriously Danish recommendations. This is the truth. I studied what happened in the last 30 years. We have a study in 1996, 1997 from Danish Power. It's still good. In 2007, another study, Grønmij Carbro, another Danish consultancy, gave us the clear road what to do. Unfortunately, our decision makers choose to change the flowers in the city, and we have a very beautiful city, but unfortunately the pipelines become very old. We have a system from the 60s, from the 70s. This is the situation. This crisis of district heating in Bucharest is a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity, and in this context is an opportunity to climb higher, if I could say so, because the pandemic and what happens in these days, the war, put us in the situation to do a strong transition. Because right now in Bucharest we have CHP plants from the 60s, from the 70s. They burn a lot of gas to have thermal energy. Thermal energy enter in the pipelines, which are full of holes. So we cannot speak right now about efficiency in Bucharest, but we can speak about potential of become efficient. So what we have? We have a huge market. Right now we have 600,000 homes depending on these systems, and 9,000 institutions, hospitals, schools, and so on. Every day in the winter we are on the edge. We don't know which pipeline will crash. We don't know. We were saved this winter from the climate change because we had February with 15 degrees, plus degrees. We could have had minus 15 degrees. So, having this situation, which is real, right now we have also a modernization fund, so the possibility to access European funds, non-reversible mixing and so on. We have no other solution than to modernize this system, to modernize the production, and we look very carefully about green solution. And we need support, we need to exchange ideas, we need consultancy and so on. We are very interested in geothermal solutions. We are very interested in heat pumps. We are interested in every solutions that mean less gas. Romania is 20% dependency from the other sources. Yeah, we are looking about how to have gas for that 20%. But we have a lot of potential to reduce the gas we burn and the energy we lose on the pipelines. So, production, I've told you. Transport. We have a system of pipelines, 1,000 kilometers. We need technology to understand where are the leakages faster, how to intervene. Okay, the main solution is to rehabilitate and to change the pipelines. But we cannot change 1,000 kilometers like this. We cannot evacuate the people from the Bucharest on the field, stay 2 years on the field, we'll change the system and come on. No, we have an open heart operation, surgery, right? So, we need this technology in order to modernize the pipelines, in order to understand what happens below the surface, because we are on our cars and looking what beautiful flowers we have in the city, and we have pictures, but below the surface there are very old pipelines. So we need all these solutions to understand and to to stabilize and modernize the system. Also, the secondary system means 4,000 kilometers from the substations to the flats. Smart metering, digitalization, and so on. We need to understand which are your solutions. We want to learn from your experience. Being in this field of district heating, I respect, and all people who understand district heating, we deeply respect what Denmark does for district heating, because we have a fight, for example, with some decision makers in Bucharest to explain that district heating is more efficient than individual solutions. Yeah. And we usually say, look at what Western countries are doing. Look at Denmark, look at other Scandinavian countries. Without your solutions, it could have been very harder. So, this is the situation in Bucharest. I repeat, a lot of opportunities. Bucharest has no other solutions than to modernize, to do something we didn't do in the last 10 or 20 years because the system was quite okay. Right now, we are on the edge. So this is the moment. Pay attention. Thank you. And I deeply expect to change ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudio. From big challenges comes big opportunities, right? And I'm sure that our next speaker knows a thing or two about district heating. Mr. Lars Gulev, CEO at VEX, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you have my presentation.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to have the floor here today. As mentioned, my name is Lars Gulev and I'm the CEO of the VEX district heating company, which is responsible for the district heating supply to the western part of Copenhagen. We are small compared to the district heating company in Bucharest. We have only 170,000 end users, but it's still a lot in Denmark. We are lucky. We had a board which took the decision back in 2011, a decision that we should supply our end users with 100% CO2 neutral district heating in 2025. That's our target back in 2011. It's still our target and we are at schedule. Furthermore, I am the vice chair of the IEA District Heating and Cooling Executive Committee on behalf of the Danish Energy Agency, a group of countries from South Korea and China in east to Canada and US in west. And finally, I'm here today representing Danish Board District Heating, which is an umbrella organization for around 70 Danish companies acting in the district heating sector. And there you will find all the know-how you need about district heating and knowledge about how to transfer a district heating system from a conventional system based on fossil fuels to a system based on renewable energy. You will find producers of components, you will find energy consulting companies, and you will find utilities where you can visit these utilities and they can act as a showroom where you can see how to build in these different kind of modern equipment so you get a total maximum efficiency of your district heating system. You have ordered a speech from me today with the title District Heating and Digitalization. That's not a normal subject I'm talking about, but it's interesting because it's an important part of our daily work. So everyone talks about digitalization of the district heating sector, but what do they mean when they are talking about it? In short, it's a transformation from a world with analog mode to a digital one. You know it from cameras, which some years ago were analog. Today they are digital, and this is even an old picture because today it's a mobile phone. So it gives a picture of the development when we are talking about digitalization. So if we take the next slide, you have probably heard about digitalization when we are talking about currencies. Blockchain is a hot digital buzzword. You maybe know the technology, but it's a technology where you do not have to be involved with the traditional banks. Furthermore, you have heard about Bitcoin. That's also about part of our digitalization of the society. So if you go to the next slide, we come closer to the district heating sector. We have started to talk about Internet of Things, these IoT components, which you already today can find in your normal home if you buy a very expensive refrigerator. Then the refrigerator can monitor when you take products out of your fridge, and they can order it at the supermarket when it's empty for beer, for instance, or cheese, or milk. It's a possibility, so it gives a picture of how the technology is moving. When we look at the district heating sector, we can already today install these small IoT sensors on our pumps, so we can monitor the vibration of the pumps, and by that adjust our program for preventive maintenance. So that's also a way to use real-time data for our business to minimize our running costs, and not only have preventive maintenance linked to a program which was the same last year and 5 years ago. So that's a way we try to minimize our costs or to optimize the business. So if we go now to the real world, this is a nice picture of a combined heat and power plant. It's a plant we bought back in 2012, in fact the 1st of May 2012. It's fired with 100% sustainable biomass in the form of wood chips, sawdust and dust, and it produced what is equivalent to 10% of the heat we need in our company for supplying our district heating consumers with sustainable heat. Our district heating, we buy it from a private company owning a combined heat and power plant, where we have been part investors in the conversion of this power plant from natural gas and coal to 100% sustainable biomass. So 50% of our heat is coming from that plant. 35% of the heat is coming from waste to energy plants. 10% from this plant here. 5% from surplus heat from industry, and surplus heat from cooling a gas engine based on biogas. And then 2 to 3% is coming from the peak and reserve load boilers based on natural gas and oil. Today we work with a scenario where we do not have natural gas for this peak load and reserve load production, just to be sure. But this plant here, we have started to focus on the NOx emissions to see if we can minimize the cost, because we have taxes on NOx emissions in Denmark, if we can minimize the cost for buying NOx taxes by using this modern technology, digitalization or artificial intelligence, what you can call it. So if you take the next slide, the challenge on such a combined heat and power plant is that the percentage of oxygen and the negative pressure in the boiler has influence on the emissions of NOx. Therefore, it also has a negative effect on the efficiency of the boiler, and by that, the total operation economy. So what we want is to get a better efficiency of the boiler, to get a lower emission tax, also to get a lower emission because it's a benefit for the environment. To have fewer fallouts of the operation of the plant, and less time for the operation staff in the operation center to discuss and try to understand the outcome of the process. So if we take the next one, we started this process to look at the NOx emissions, and it was a little bit new for us that more than 45 parameters has influence of the emissions of NOx. And for one man sitting in an operation center and trying to manage 45 different measure points, that's simply not possible. Therefore, it's necessary, if you want to optimize this process, that you use the tools you have from different meters, from different measures, put that into a black box, into a model, which can see pictures in these measures, and use this artificial intelligence topics. So here it's the challenge is that is it possible to predict or to determine the emission level of NOx emissions based on the present combustion, and can we explain the output we see from such a program so we can understand it, understand why the emissions are higher than expected or lower than expected. So if we take the next one, you can see we have built up a model where we compare the actual emissions of NOx with the emissions we can predict in our model to see if there's some balance between reality and model. And as you can see of the curve, it seems that we have been pretty good to make this first model. So if we take the next slide, we can see here the most important is that the average error between real data and predicting from the model is about, or approximately, 2.7%. So it seems that we have a good model. So now we can use that model to see what's the consequences for the economy of the plant. So if we go to the next slide, you can see that our annual cost for the NOx emission is around 800,000 Danish crowns per year. It's not that interesting, but we expect that we can reduce it with the model with 10%. The interesting is that this model seems to have an investment of around 1.5 million Danish crowns. The alternative is to install DeNOx burners at the plant and by that reduce the emissions of NOx. And the investments here, they are between 6 and 7 million Danish crowns. So now we can compare the 1.5 million with 6 to 7 million Danish crowns, and then it should be clear what way we want to go. So we go for the model where we use the digitalization of the process, use the artificial intelligence, and by that save money. That means that we can reduce the running costs of the plant. In our case, it means that we can reduce the heat price. If you're a private company, it means that you can increase your profit. If we take the last or the next slide, the benefits of this digitalization is that now we can base our decisions on data-driven decisions and not what we feel or what we think or what we did last week. It also makes the possibility to research on what's working well in the process and what's not working well, and then focus on what's working well and optimize that part of the process. So that was a high-speed introduction to digitalization with focus on a simple issue which is very complicated. So thank you very much. This is the last slide.
Thank you. If I can have my mic back. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gulev. We are now turning towards the private sector, and this will be the last session of our conference, where also questions from the audience are very much appreciated and encouraged. Energobit is one of Romania's largest energy services companies and contractors, with an experience in the Romanian energy sector of 30 years. But I will allow its CEO, Mr. Florin Pop, to tell us more about it. Thank you.
You have also my presentation, please. So, first of all, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for organizing this event. I know that it's a huge effort to organize and to bring all the people together. And really, once again, Your Excellencies, thank you very much for organizing this in Copenhagen, because I have to recognize that in Romania, we have a lot of excuses to not meet friends. And today I meet some Romanian friends or German friends here in Copenhagen because of you. Thank you very much for this. I'm very honored to have a short presentation, and I will use this opportunity to give some words about the company that I represent, the company which is called Energobit. So please see Energobit, a private company with more than 30 years experience on the Romanian energy market, relying today in 4 pillars. First of all, we act as a general contractor for energy project. We are not acting only as a general contractor, because also we have our execution teams. So when we start a site, we don't go only with 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 engineers, but also we bring 100 workers there, and we are trying to cover as much as possible internally. Also, please see Energobit as a company which is involved in the production of low voltage and medium voltage electrical equipment, especially medium voltage transformer substations, medium voltage switchgears from primary and secondary distribution, or distribution transformers. We have a very, very intelligent team of electrical engineering, covering mainly metering solutions, SCADA solutions, and also protection and monitoring systems. And as you can imagine, we are also involved in a lot of operation and maintenance of electrical installations. You have mentioned today that it's very difficult to have the fifth speech. Imagine that it's more difficult to have the speech before the lunch break. So I will not make my speech very, very long, but I will try to use some figures, because humans like figures, numbers, but I would like also to put some pictures in order to give you some ideas about the history and the future of electric energy, green electric energy in Romania. It was mentioned today about the first wave of electric energy in Romania. It was the period of 2009-2014. In that period, the total installed power in wind was around 3,000 megawatts, and on top of this, around 1,400 megawatts on solar. It was mentioned also this morning that a lot of wind is concentrated near the Black Sea coast, and as you can see in the figure, let's say 2,500 out of the 3,000 mega of wind are concentrated in a very, very short area. This was the history. The company that I represent have been in a very good position, because we have been involved in installation of more than 2,000 mega. When I say we have been involved, that means that we act either as a balance of plant contractor, either of a general contractor for electrical part, and we managed to connect to the grid more than 450 windmills and a lot of PV projects. And I put some pictures here, some pictures that I like very much. This picture is from the still biggest or largest onshore wind farm from Europe. So even if in Denmark you have a lot of installed power, the biggest in Europe is located in Romania. And this is the Fântânele Cojalac wind farm with an installed power of 600 mega. It was mentioned this morning the distance between Romania and Denmark, and it was mentioned that there are 2,000 kilometers from Romania to Denmark. And I made a very, very quick check. So our company, if you could come back please, Mihai. Our company only, once again, only in this project install around 2,000 kilometers of medium voltage cables, high voltage cables, and fiber optic. So imagine that the length, once again, of the medium voltage cable, high voltage cables, and fiber optic installed in only one wind farm will allow to connect Copenhagen to Bucharest. So that means that it's a very short distance between the two countries. It's not so, not so big and not so complicated to connect Copenhagen to Bucharest. It's really, and I'm very proud because our team was involved not only in this project but in several projects, and really staying on the top of a windmill there and looking around. Imagine that only in this wind farm there are 240 windmills, but there are additional wind farms around, because as I mentioned, everything is concentrated in that area. So probably you could see more than 500 windmills if you have a 360 degrees view. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it's a picture that remain in your mind. Thank you. The next slide, it's from a PV project. It's a PV project in the center part of Romania. This is still one of the biggest projects in Romania, even if we are talking about 65 mega installed. It's only, once again, to compare the size of such PV project to the size of the houses. You can see the village which is around, and let's say you could compare the size of the project with the size of the houses. I have to admit that initially this project was designated or was designed for 120 mega, a copy paste on the next hill. And the infrastructure and all the energetical infrastructure was designed for 120 mega, but at the time of erection of the project, because of the change of the legislation, the second part of the project was not installed. So we are coming on the present day, and yes, I could say also that today Romania is facing the second wave of renewable energy. Today our company is involved in order to make a lot of studies, and feasibility studies, solution studies for connection to the grid, and also obtaining all the permits in order allowing investors to connect to the grid the future facilities. So what I put here on the map, it's only, once again, studies for future projects. And only the studies where the company that I represent, it's involved. As you can see, we can talk about 4,500 mega of PV. A lot. And because I mentioned the biggest onshore, once again, existing onshore wind farm in Europe, I could mention also that the biggest design of a PV plant in Europe, it's also in Romania. To find it on the map, it's in this area. It's 1,065 mega. It's already permitted and it's almost ready to build. So the construction, I hope that the construction will start very, very soon. So imagine, once again, it's 1,065 mega in PV. We are involved also in several projects, onshore projects. You see on the map around 1,300. But also, we are involved in the first project of offshore, 500 mega. Yes, it's only the study, but every big project starts with the first step. For us and for me, this is a first step, and it's a very, very important step for the future. Because also we believe that in Black Sea, there is a huge potential. Today, it's still theoretical, but I think that after we will make the feasibility study, we will prove that once again it's a real potential to consider offshore investments as a real investments in green energy. So if you go to the last one, once again, it was mentioned today that in Romania you could find a lot of sources. Yes, we have wind, probably not the best in the world, but still it's blowing. We have sun, not the best in the world, but still is raising every day. We have grid, is not the smartest in the world, but we are contributing every day to create the grid smarter and smarter. We have the support of authorities. We have around 2 billion euro available for next projects. So once again, I will say, consider Romania as a very serious possibility for investment. Please consider Romania as a very serious partner for future project. And if you want to become a partner, or if you want to invest in Romania, please consider also Energobit as a potential friend and partner for you. I'm very, very happy that, as I mentioned, the 600 people, 650 people working every day in Energobit are creating, let's say, a smart future and a smart company. And I will say a green future, even if our color is blue, probably we'll have to change in green, as you mentioned. You know, it's difficult to change the color of a company from today or tomorrow, but it is sure that we start to add the green also on our traditional blue. If you have questions today or during the lunch time or using our webpage, I'll be very happy to answer to your questions, and if I don't have the answer with me, I'll ask my colleagues to help me and to give your answers. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Mr. Pop. Well, I hope and I'm sure that this event today is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. But I can't stop wondering that technical expertise and know-how is just a part of the success story without policy and regulatory wisdom. More on this, Mr. Cosmin Vasile, managing partner at Zanfirescu, Racoții, Vasile and Partners law firm.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today, and I'm always happy to be the last speaker before lunch. It is actually it is perfect to know that nobody listens and just wants to go to lunch. Or my position is even worse. We have heard the states representatives, authorities, companies, and so on. And I'm a lawyer. And the question becomes, is it justified to hear the voice and the opinion of a lawyer about the energy sector or the energy market? And I dare to say that yes, for a single reason. The lawyers are present and they wear multiple hats and they stay in the shoes of different actors on the market, and it justifies a sort of pitch view or reality view, and moreover an objective lawyer is able to figure out and to understand objectively the market as it works, as it is, and what should change and or what should not change on that market. And the year 2022 started with the energy prices crisis, the Ukraine invasion. I think it is the most tense and sensitive moment for the energy sector. Obviously, it affected also Romania as the entire Europe. We have faced a significant social impact, and in terms of brutal consequences of the energy prices crisis, we witness, I would call it a pandemic of energy traders' sudden death syndrome, because I have witnessed of the actual disappearance in less than 1 month or 2 months of various traders that after many years of dealing with their business properly, they simply disappeared in no time due to the price crisis. In my view, the pressure and the clouds that we are facing today are the trigger for a bright and sunny tomorrow, or put it differently, the unfortunate context that we are still facing has been and will be the trigger for speeding up and streamlining Romania's efforts to ensure energy security and independence. It may sound counterintuitive or even false, but it is exactly like this. And in my view, legally wise, politically and geopolitically, what we are going to face tomorrow, not today, tomorrow, we just need a little bit more time, and this unfortunate war in Ukraine to finish. And we are going to witness the best moment and context for the energy sector in Romania. Again, from a legal framework perspective, political and geopolitical perspective. And I will try to convince you in 5 minutes why my view or my prognosis is correct. The hot topic today in Romania, if we were to choose only one, would be the project law for amending the offshore petroleum law. As we speak today, the law proposal that has been accepted by the alliance running Romania today is in parliament, undergoing the process of getting all the approvals and everything. It is crystal clear and pretty sure that we are going to have very soon, probably in a few weeks, amendments to the offshore petroleum blocks law. Just as a background, in Romania we have had concession agreements in place for more than 20 years, offshore, I refer to offshore. The Offshore Safety Directive was implemented in 2016, so everything was in place. The gas is in there, and they are very appealing and large resources. But what happened in the last years was that the main important title holders involved in the concession agreements criticized the law enacted in 2018, especially for the economical and fiscal regime enacted by means of that offshore law. And what happens today is that the Romanian state has declared, and I'm going to quote from the law proposal, that ensuring energy security is the essential objective for Romania's energy policy. And one of the strategic objectives assumed by the governing program is to amend and supplement the offshore law in order to increase the energy security, reduce dependence on imported gas, and ensure transaction to clean energy sources. So it is officially declared and included in a law that this is a top priority for Romania and for the governing program that our current government is implementing. Just as a sort of flavor of the main amendments that are being brought to the offshore law, the fiscal stability becomes a fundamental principle which is enshrined as such and becomes a legal protection offered by the offshore law. Then, in order to obtain a competitive tax system and to allow investors a normal level of profitability, it will be eliminated the additional taxation of income for sale prices at which investors do not achieve over profit. The third important amendment is that it is proposed to increase the maximum level for the deduction of investments in the upstream segment from 30% to 40%. And on the other hand, the same regime, which is a favorable one, or more favorable than what it used to be, is going to be applied for the onshore blocks with depths higher than 3,000 meters. This is also an ongoing topic in Romania. The traditional resources are naturally declining, but the very deep resources are still there, and title holders must be encouraged to exploit them. Now, if this is not enough in terms of perceiving how important the subject becomes for the Romanian state, it is also public, and everybody expects soon the official confirmation of the fact that a state-controlled company, Romgaz, is going to take over from Exxon their share in the Neptune Deep project, which means that a Romanian-controlled company is going to become title holder together with OMV Petrom and exploit the biggest resource in the Black Sea. I would say this is a crystal clear statement, or materialized statement of the Romanian state as to how attractive they see and how important they see the offshore. Now, what else is going on or can and should be going on in Romania? Yesterday, while I was on my way to the airport, I was listening to a statement made by our Prime Minister, according to which the opening of the interconnector Greece-Bulgaria, which was longly delayed by the Bulgarian state, will take place in June. And the Prime Minister stated that he hopes that as of October, we are going to be able to bring in Romania gas. It is US origin gas coming or injected in the Alexandropoulos LNG, and which eventually can reach Romania via this way. I'm not sure, or I don't know if anybody can be sure that it can be as early as October, but for sure it is going to happen soon. Romania is going to access a different source for gas that is not coming from Russia, and on the other hand, a topic that is or will be open soon is the idea of liquefied gas, and hopefully one day in Romania an LNG terminal will be in place and involved in this kind of operations. Now, as far as the nuclear energy is concerned, Romania has made a sort of double partnership with the United States, and we started the process of building a small modular reactor in Romania, and on the other hand, perhaps more importantly, the partnership with the United States concluded in 2020 was followed by another partnership concluded in 2021, and Romania has started the steps for preparing the licensing and then actually building 2 new CANDU pressured heavy water reactors at the Cernavodă nuclear plant, which is going to double the nuclear capacity of our plant. Last but not least, the offshore wind is a subject that can and should, I was happy to hear that study is already taking place. What I know is that a project law has been sent in the parliament with the purpose to regulate the offshore wind projects. And on the other hand, another topic that is or should be addressed is the CCS, carbon capture storage. Romania has implemented the directive on the geological storage of carbon dioxide, but it is a sort of partial implementation in the sense that today, if somebody wants to start an actual CCS project, it would not find all the necessary regulations allowing to actually start tomorrow. There is, for instance, a pilot project which is run by Heidelberg Cement, one of the biggest producers of carbon dioxide, and OMV Petrom, the biggest company involved in exploitation of oil and gas in Romania, but it is just a project pilot which hopefully is going to help the state to regulate properly this field. And why I also touched, so there are certitudes or immediate certitudes, and also there are at least 2 fields, the offshore wind and the carbon capture and storage, which seem to be farther away. Now, I don't know if this is, you know, an absolute truth statement, but this is a lesson that I learned from real life experience. Each state or each jurisdiction has or develops throughout time its own way to deal with new fields or new sectors. Imagine Dubai, they built everything out of scratch and out of nothing. They become attractive for whatever new industry or new sector. Again, that's their way to deal with things. Romania is, I would see it or I feel it like a traditional and conservative approach, and experience showed that Romania has always been successful in building a close to perfection legal framework and in raising an industry whenever it did it in partnership with that industry. Put it differently, I am not expecting Romanian state or Romania as a jurisdiction to one day to enact the perfect law regulating whatever sector. I see the other way around.
we are going to get closer to perfection and improve it every day whenever the investors and the legitimate pressure put by investors is the partner that helps the Romanian state to regulate properly. And from this perspective, I don't know how Denmark has become the home of Kriegers Flak and the mother of energy islands, but I do hope that the Danish companies are going to help the Romanian state to increase and regulate properly and undertake all the steps that we are supposed to undertake. Thank you.
Thank you, Cosmin. Now, seeing the lively debates outside during the break, I'm sure that the last session for today, so I'm opening the discussion, questions. We have a microphone ready. Please address the question or make your comment, and before I name somebody from the room. Well, I'm sure that every presentation was very clear. Okay, we have a first question.
I don't think I need the microphone.
It's for the live transmission.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Carsten Boye. I'm coming from Scandimir, and we are making concentrated solar power. We know that in Denmark, about 50% of our total energy will be used for heating purposes. I should very much like to know how much of the energy in Romania do you use for heating purposes? Secondly, we have heard a lot of PV, and as you know, PV will take a lot of land. We expect to have about 800 megawatt hours per hectare. If you use the sun for heating purposes, we will have 3 to 4 times more. What do you say to that?
Okay, so the first question, Claudio, would you try to answer?
Yeah, let me try.
Okay.
I will try to answer. The data I will present won't be very accurate, but I will try to do this. Heating in Romania means rural area, which we have a lot of, means biomass, if I could say so. That means wood. But unfortunately, not with high efficiency. So wood in classical area. Cities were built with centralized heating, with district heating. Unfortunately, some cities in Romania have lost this centralized heating, and right now they use individual heating with gas. And 10 to 15 cities that matters in Romania have centralized heating, including Bucharest, which is the capital. Of course, there is a potential for this, but right now it is hard to say if solar power could be effective for district heating, regarding the fact that in winter maybe sometimes 2 or 3 weeks we can see the sun. So we are very interested to understand how this could be effectively possible. Of course, I've spoken already about new CHP plants, which must be hydrogen ready, and yeah, could be a solution, but the solution could be possible for the summertime, for hot water and so on. Maybe I answered to your questions. We can develop the discussion.
I will try to give you some hints about the second question. Yes, also in Romania we could consider about 0.8 mega per hectare, so it's there. But as Claudio mentioned, for the PV, the calculation are done today only for the produce of electricity and sell of the electricity to the grid. So even in the first wave, I mentioned something like 1,200 mega in PV already installed, and now it's there are a lot of projects. The big investors when they make the calculation, they took in consideration only the production of the electricity and sale of the electricity on the national grid. Probably Claudio did not mention that, but I don't know, 40 years ago, there have been a lot of intention in order to put panels on the big cities in order to produce heat water, but Today, probably it's only, I don't know, very few houses having this technology, and it is not a huge project as the project that I mentioned. I don't know, 1,000 or projects of 100 mega, considering to use PV for the heating, but only for the electricity today.
Immediately, 10 seconds. People in Romania didn't think about that till last year because the energy was cheap. And that's why nobody was interested.
Just to add on this, because we spoke only about large PV projects, large-scale PV projects, let me tell you that in December, on the 28th of December last year, we adopted some changes in the energy law of Romania, in which we enforced the prosumer, and we established a compensation on the quantity of energy that the prosumer, with an installed capacity of 200 kilowatts, so small capacities, only 200 kilowatts, they can compensate their consumption of energy with their own production in the month that their production is higher than their consumption. So it's a form of energy efficiency which we encouraged, and it's a form of decentralized production, and we wanted to see more of prosumers all over the big cities in Romania, and also on the countryside, on the rural area of our country. And this way they can use the national system as a battery, as a storage battery, due to the fact that the energy they are compensating, it's how can I say this, reported for 24 months. So if you do not consume the energy that you're producing, you are not losing this quantity of energy, but you can save it and spend it after 2 years. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if I may also add one question and many answers. So as far as I know, that out of the total energy consumed of Romania, about 60% is thermal. First question. Second question, I think I got it, and the idea is whether it's not more feasible to use the land in producing biomass or and using for heating than doing PV. Yes, but the trouble here, it's like that. It will be more efficient. The trouble here, it's related to the infrastructure. Because unfortunately, the Romanian infrastructure, centralized heating infrastructure, was destroyed after the communists, and there are very, very few cities, as Claudio were mentioning, that are still able to supply in a centralized manner thermal energy. That's why it will be a very long and very difficult project to turn back to most of the Romanian population to a centralized district heating.
Thank you very much. Michael Weiberg, European Energy.
In many of our markets, we also see agro PV as a solution to introduce multifunctionality of agriculture and PV. We have projects in Denmark and elsewhere across Europe. I would like to hear some comments on the view on that from the authorities in Romania. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Through the Modernization Fund, which I spoke earlier in my presentation, which will be enforced in October this year, we will have a line of financing agricultural PV projects. It will be a line that it will be dedicated for companies that are in the agricultural sector and also are in need of energy in order to be competitive on the internal markets and the external markets with their products. So the cost of energy went up, their products are no longer competitive, so a special line of financing in order to produce their own energy through PV plants will be available from October through the Modernization Fund. Looking forward to see the value of this scheme. It's a matter of weeks until we will finish our discussions with the Ministry of Agriculture and see the total budget for this support scheme. Thank you.
Cornel Ban, Copenhagen Business School. We are in a wind superpower. So I'm curious, from the Romanian perspective, state and corporate, what are the most important obstacles to a second wave of wind power development, both offshore and onshore? Legislative, infrastructural, financial. I'm just curious because it seems like there's no legal framework yet. There's no sort of institutional architecture to encourage this. The money seems to be there from RRP, but it's not clear to me what is the hierarchy of obstacles that we're dealing with here.
Any private company that would like to address this question? Because for the government opinion, we don't see many. Just to make a joke.
So to me, it's a clear answer is the infrastructure. And it's not only the fact that have been mentioned here today, like closing the ring on the national grid, or it's also about the level of investment into smart grid. Because as that was also mentioned here, in order to be able to give a reasonable capacity factor to the green investments, you really need to have a very smart infrastructure. And we still have things to develop here, and I'm pretty sure that the next incentives from the government and also directly from the private companies will be to invest into increasing the level of grid intelligence, let's say.
Okay, I will try to add more. I will not talk really about obstacles, because as you mentioned, monies are there. You have to look for them and you have to find for them. Grid. My feeling is that in no country you will have the perfect grid, neither in Denmark, neither in Romania. Yes, in one country could be better than in other country. And probably mainly for the people which are involved on the Romanian market, you hear almost every day that you cannot connect new facilities to the grid without making new investment on the grid. So it is not possible to connect anything. I have to recognize that, as I mentioned, today our company is involved in a lot of studies and obtaining permits for connecting to the grid. In the last, I will say, 4 or 5 months, we obtained permit to connect to the grid 2,000 mega of PV and wind without any reinforcements of the existing grid. So I will say you have to be smart enough, and not only smart enough, but innovative enough in order to find the right place where to connect the new investment to the grid. Yes, you will find a lot of areas where it's not possible to add more facilities without having additional investments, but you have to be smart enough to look on the whole country and to look on, I don't know, line by line, substation by substation, and you will find possibilities. Sometimes the possibility is not where you are dreaming to be, but there are possibilities. Imagine the pictures that I show today. The first wave, as I mentioned, 2,500 connected only in the small area in the southeast of Romania, near the Black Sea coast. It's almost impossible there to connect more if you don't have very, very strong works in infrastructure. But remember also the second map that I put here. And you have seen that the new facilities are distributed all around Romania. They are not concentrated in one area. So yes, we need investments. Yes, we need investments in order to make the grid smarter. We are doing, or the Romanian state is doing this every day. We need this. But my feeling is that there are still possibilities to create new facilities and to connect them to the grid without having very strong, without needing very strong financial support on the existing grid.
If no more questions, and I think it's also time to wrap up this event, but not the end of the discussion between Romania and Denmark. Please use our embassy here or ask the Romanian Energy Center in Bucharest to follow up on today. Without further delay, I would like to thank our ambassador here and everybody present. But please, Ambassador Gredinar, it's your job to close the games. Thank you.
Okay. I had the honor to start and to finish. I will not address any longer the audience. I'm not even trying to have a summary or just gathering the main ideas of what was said. I just reiterate what I was saying in the beginning. I'm happy that we could organize together with our partners this event. Your presence here was most valuable. I do hope that there will be concrete elements of follow-up. Please continue engage into the discussion during lunch. Please feel free, the Danish companies, now you know us better. You can address us when you have issues where you think we could help, where we can advise you, where we can, I don't know, provide appropriate contact together also with our partners. We are having also an economic counselor in the embassy. It's valid for all areas. It's not only for offshore or for district heating. I mean, this is the role of the embassy, one of the roles, to also facilitate this context between the business communities. And in my opinion, it was a very efficient, productive, and very positive first event in this area that we are organizing as an embassy with our partners. I want to thank again to everybody for the participation in the room, also online. And I do invite you to have a lunch prepared by a Romanian chef in Denmark. I do hope you will enjoy it. I encourage you to use just some administrative issues, to use all area also in the dining room, in the terrace there, also there, and why not in the garden? I mean, we order some sun, not producing energy because we are still working to making our embassy and our even our foreign service greener. I mean, we work on this together with Tatiana. There is even a network for green foreign services, green foreign ministries, green embassies, you know, and we are in a close dialogue with ministries around Europe that are putting a lot of effort making their life greener, various technical things. We are in contact with them. Also, our ministry is working towards achieving different results in a certain time frame. And the same goes for embassies, because I started talking about green embassies. So we are not yet there producing our or being a prosumer. But we are working on it. So thank you once again for your presence, and why not thinking about a second event, a follow-up event in some, maybe in 1 year or in 2 years. And have a nice afternoon. Please continue the discussions. The Vice Minister, as you heard, is very much open to dialogue, and you have a proof of that in the break we had. So he is here to continue the discussion until we will continue with the Romanian delegation the program, because we were talking about a lot what's happening underground in Bucharest. At 2 o'clock we have to leave for the site visit where we'll see what's happening underground in Copenhagen. And I just tell you, I think it's a difference, but we will see this difference later on. Thank you again.